Hello, family. This is Michael Zingara from All Exotic Tarot and Divination. Basically, tonight, what we're going to discuss is how to work with your ancestors. There's a lot of confusion about the reasons why you would, how you go about it. Do you have the spiritual authority to do this? What type of work does it take? I'm going to tell you about do's and don'ts. For this first part, I'm going to I'm going to tell you how to set up a simple ancestor altar. And in the following video, I'll actually demonstrate a ritual and give you guys some simple prayers, simple techniques that you can form a bond with your ancestor. All right, let's start with why. Why do you want to work with your ancestors? Well, traditionally throughout the world, most cultures do. Here in our scientific Western world, the practice has fallen into disfavor through the main religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Unfortunately, in my opinion, these religions, the way they're practiced in their orthodox fashions, get you further away from the spiritual world and God than any amount of sin that you can do. I know it's controversial, but that's the things that I've observed in the world as a diviner. I've seen every walk of life of people come through. I've been reading since I was since I was 12 years old, and I'm 45 now. But back to the ancestors. The reason why you want to work with the ancestors, if you want to do divination, if you want to do any type of spell work, if you want a decent life, if you want to enter a deeper form of spirituality, the ancestors are your first step. And the reason being is your ancestors have skin in the game as far as your life's concerned. When you think about it, people don't die, go to heaven, get a set of angel wings, and play a harp. Basically, this foundation that I'm going to provide for you will be a kind of a Unitarian type of way of doing things. It will be a little bit based on my gypsy religious beliefs, based on the spiritismo beliefs. There's so many similarities in the way people go about worshiping and venerating their ancestors. But there's a lot of things that are very similar. As you'll find, if you go on a quest to learn all the different ways people venerate the spirits, venerate God, how the spirit world works, a lot of things cross-pollinate, especially with the spirit groups. Like you take voodoo and the spirit group, the Gide, they're the spirits of the dead. When they appear in front of the like Navajo people, they're Kachina. But same behavior, same aspects. They're just answering to a different name. There's a spirit in voodoo where when a priest or priestess gets possessed, they tend to want to climb a tree and jump off of it. My wife is a Mongolian shaman, and there's a spirit that does this in her group too. So everybody thinks they have the answer in the unique angle, but honestly, through all of the study that I've done, same spirits, they're just answering to different names. Typically, they do the same behaviors and everything else. So, Now back to your ancestors. Basically, when your ancestor passes away, they continue to observe you, watch you, and who loves you more than your grandmother, maybe your mother or father passed away, your great parents. You'd be amazed how far reaching the spirit groups go back if you know how to contact them. For example, through my spiritissimo practices, I have Pickish, which are pre, kind of a prehistoric group that lived in Ireland before all the Irish and everyone else invaded. They were dark-skinned, brown-haired people, and they go back before the Bronze Age. Believe it or not, they like to speak to me. So, but for the average person, the reason why you want to do this is in Santeria we have a saying: you stand on the shoulders of your ancestors. And what they're saying on that is everything that you are spiritually, magically, what skills that you have as a diviner come from them. If it's not in your bloodline to do certain things, you're only going to be able to do certain things. But believe it or not, it goes all the way back to the past. So if you don't have ancestors in living memory like I do that had skills and such, chances are somewhere back there's a person that was in your ancestral line that's willing to listen. Now, one of the things I really would like to see in the world is more ancestor veneration. I really believe a reason why a lot of the world is as messed up as it is because people aren't paying attention to their ancestors. Your ancestors can get angry with you and cause havoc in your life. But they also can be your very best ally and your first line of protection and your first reaching hand into the spirit world. And the point is, they're the first ones you should start off with. Before you contact fairies or dig in the Akashic record, or if you think that you're reading tarot cards and this power is coming from your mind and your soul, I doubt that. I'm almost positive. If we asked around, there's a spirit that's helping you do these things. So, you form a relationship with them, basically because they will be the first group of spirits to introduce you to other spirits. They're almost like the gateway, per se. They also have a great vested interest in you, and they will do what they can to protect you. The thing about the spirit world, you just need to ask, and ask correctly. And what I mean by correctly, it's not any special ritual. It's right here. It's heartfelt emotion, heartfelt meaning, and heartfelt honesty. That'll get you connected with your ancestors and get what you need out of life through them. When you tie in divination and ancestral communication together, you will be amazed at the amount of accuracy that your readings will provide. Now, when I do readings, I do not use just one system. And I do readings professionally, and I do readings for friends, and I do readings, I read for myself nearly every day. And basically, I do 3 or 4 different forms of divination. And basically, my spiritual practice is all connected with different spirits. And I will get the same answers from all 3 or 4 groups. I like to do this for clients that way, and then I show them the mathematical probability of the things coming through. And if I really have a skeptic, I'll hand them a book with that form and say, here, look it up for yourself. So it's pretty amazing. Right now, basically, I'm doing all my readings by word of mouth. I'm busy enough as it is. Not sure if I want to advertise or not. But I might advertise and do more for the future because I'm sure people are going to want readings later on. But basically, so your ancestor is going to be the person that's going to represent you in the spirit world, the person that's going to protect you, and the person that's going to introduce you to other spirits. You know, there was a reason why in your teenage life when you tried to do magic and nothing happened, because you're doing the things, and basically the spirit world is going, who the hell is this guy or gal? Why should I listen to them? You know? But when you do such and such spell work and you have a working relationship with your spirits and you have 30 or 40 spirits behind you, things tend to stand up and take notice of what your requests are. It's as simple as that. Throughout the world, you know, people do different things. One of the things that's most important about your ancestors that you should do for them, for God's sakes, provide them with some water. The simplest spirit altar is basically some white cloth on a small table or a space that is clean and nice. You know, you clean it spiritually, clean it down physically, put the cloth down. You should use, it's nice to use a bouquet of white flowers. If they're not white, it's not that big of a deal, but traditionally that's what I've seen throughout the world, and that's what I've seen in my different practices. Bouquet of flowers, a candle, and a simple glass of water. You can get more things done with those three things if you put in the work than all these spell books that you can buy in Barnes and Nobles. If the heartfelt emotion is there, the contact is there, and you do the work and form the relationship, you will get results. And you're not going to have problems, you know? When you use a Ouija board or some other ways, you're inviting everything and anything into your life with some method like that. When you use vague spells and pray to different spirits of the wind, spirits of the water, and blah, 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 there is a whole herd of bad things you can invite in your life. It's very good to be specific on who you're talking to, who you're allowing into your personal space, and who you're providing the energy for, you know? So basically back to the altar. So you take the white cloth in the clean area, put some flowers down, you put a glass of water. You can use a dollar store wine glass. I like to use these. They're very pretty. Guess what? Dollar store. Spirits love them. Very ornate. But it doesn't have to be fancy. So you do the flowers, a cup of water, and a candle. And basically, you explain who you are, who you want to contact, what you're offering the spirits. When you do any type of spirit communication, it's very good etiquette to thank the spirit for all that they've done for you before they have. Then basically you talk to them just like they were your relatives in life. Discuss your problems. Discuss your things you're worried about. Things that made you happy. Things that you think that would have made them proud. These are all things that are good to communicate with your ancestors. When you get done, talking and doing your thing, then you basically have to say, ancestors, thank you for your time. I'm going to go now. We're going to end this prayer session here and now. Okay? There's a lot of words to do that. You can say amen if you want to. Funny thing is about amen, well, if you really do the etymology of the, is it etymology? Is that the right word? Basically, if you search up the history of that word, amen comes from Amen-Ra, the Egyptian god. And I'm just saying. But go look that up, do the history. That's pretty funny. Hold on. So you end that session with them, and then it's all good. Now, to get this to work, basically, when you do set up the altar, and here's something they don't show you or tell you in the books, and this is passed on from priest to priest, medium to medium. And a lot of people don't know this. This has gotten lost. This is an old Puerto Rican or Cuban practice from Santeria, from a Spiritissimo. When you fill that cup of water, you want to breathe into the water. You're releasing what in Santeria is called Shea, which is, or Chi, in a Taoist way of looking things, into that water, giving it your own personal signature on it, and giving some of your personal power in that water. All right? So, basically, you put the water down, you light the candle, you do the prayer. Now, what will make this effective is doing it at the same time, every night, every day, without fail. All right? 3 or 4 days, if it's working well, 1 or 2 things will happen, and it really depends on your sincerity. The power of faith is incredible. It can move mountains. You'll see 1 or 2 things. The water will get dirtier than it actually should after a couple of days. And you can do an experiment, keep 1 glass on the altar, put another glass in another part of the house. If you see a lot of dirt and stuff in there, that's a good sign, because your ancestors are working double time to kind of clean your aura and take away the negativeness out of your life. All right? Another thing, if that's not happening, and that's probably the most common thing that happens for people. If the spirits are really active and they're around you and you're doing everything correctly and sincerely, you will see bubbles in the water, and it will look like a glass of 7-Up. When this first happened to me, I got alarmed, and I had to communicate with my teacher and godparents, and basically they said, no, you have very happy spirits. Michael, you're doing exactly what you need to. Don't get upset. That's a good sign. All right, so basically, once every 4 days, change out that fresh water. Good things to do is, if you really care about your ancestors, take a little bit of your food every time you eat, like 1/10 of it, a sample of it, put it on a little plate, put it on that ancestor altar, and tell them that is for them. Now, one thing you do not want to do is eat any food that you offer to the dead. Okay? Once that food is offered to the dead and put on that altar, it belongs to the dead. You do not want to eat that. You will get sick. I'm not talking about throwing up. I'm talking about you will contract some horrible illness later down the road. It's a very bad thing to do. If you have ancestors that smoked a pipe, cigarettes, tobacco, that is a good thing to offer. It's another thing, don't smoke those either. All right? I know in some places they do, but those are usually super poverty-stricken areas. And in that case, I'm sure their ancestors understand. But if you're watching YouTube you're living in a world where you can afford to give up some food to your ancestors. Okay? Basically, as far as what you wear in front of your ancestors, don't go naked in front of your ancestor altar. Don't put your altar where you have sex. Don't put your altar where you're naked. The rule of thumb that I would use is don't wear anything that you wouldn't wear in front of your grandparents. So enough said with that. A lot of people like to put pictures of ancestors that passed away. Not a bad idea. You don't necessarily have to do it, but there is a warning thing. If you put a picture of a dead person and a living person on your altar, you're kind of casting a curse upon that person that you love or don't love. That the ancestors, you're telling your ancestors it's okay to take those people into heaven, basically. Okay, so that's definitely don't do. And if you try to do it with the intention, and your ancestors will know, of doing that as a curse, you'll probably get the one that gets spanked. As far as like the negative things. See, there are a couple rules with ancestor things. With the cup of water, do not put a floating tea leaf candle in it. I saw someone do that. That is specifically if you want to get rid of a certain spirit group. It's something that can be done in a spiritissimo that is done. You don't want to do that to your spirits, guides, and your ancestors. Okay? Let me think of anything else. But basically, the thing is, your ancestor group is probably your most valuable asset for the average person. And it is not something strange. Don't feel weird or stupid or feel dumb. I have had people tell me, I don't know how to pray. Well, just do it. There's no shame in it. You're not doing anything unusual. You're not doing anything that's not being done right now all around the world by millions of people at the same exact time that you're doing it. So, basically, I think that's the reason why. It's a kind of a simple thing on the reason how. And very simple ancestor altar that anybody can use. And if any religious organization, group of spiritual people, if anybody tells you that you don't have the authority or the right to work with your ancestors, get the hell away from them. All right? Nobody can tell you how to work with your ancestors, when to work with your ancestors, or what to do with your ancestors. So take that in consideration. One thing as far as that candle goes, don't blow out that candle. Use a taper. Use your fingers. Put the candle out with something, but do not blow it out. If you want to give them if you want to give them incense sticks, don't blow the incense stick out. Shake it. A lot of cultures do that. Vietnamese, Chinese, half of Asia. That's how they present incense sticks to their ancestors. You can give fires, libations, and food. Leave it up there for a time, then put it in the garbage. When the water gets dirty or you change out your water, you want to take that water and dump it in the toilet, or you want to throw it outside in the grass, especially if it's the dirty variety, because you don't want to pour that in the sink and spread all that spiritual pollution all over your dishes. Another thing, working with ancestors, The more you do it consistently, the more results you're going to have. Don't be afraid if, they make themselves known to you. A lot of times they'll, grab your shirt, whisper to you or talk to you. The most common thing, and I think is probably the best thing, is they will start showing up in your dream. Once you get deep into your spiritual practices, they will appear before you in like a corporal form. So a lot of mediums do that. Some people can only hear the ancestors. Some people can only hear them in their mind. Some people can see them and not hear them. Some people can, it's the whole 9 yards. So I think that's enough for this video. The next video I'll do on this subject will show you how to set up an altar. And I'll talk a little bit more about maintenance, go through the rules again. I want to thank you again, family, for watching this video. I want to remind each one of you that you have more potential than you could ever imagine. That deep down in your soul, you are a good thing. You are a being with God's light in it. You are so much more than you think you are. You just need to spend some time and do the work to release that potential. I thank everybody again for watching the channel, and may good blessings come on to you.